And we're live, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are watching on YouTube. Welcome to tonight's Planning, Environment and Services Committee. We are live on YouTube and you're all aware of the procedures and so on and so forth. And a roll call of councillors. I can see we've got Councillor David Horsley, Councillor David Tucker, Councillor Anne Willis, Councillor Kerr Wildey and myself present. Do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Councillor Graham Johnson and Councillor Ian Gow, but we are quorate as we are at the moment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I understand, Matt, that Councillor Ian Gow is not very well, and you'll have got my email today regarding him. But from this committee, could we please convey our best wishes to him and hope that he soon gets better?
Yeah.
And I know you're probably looking into something which I asked Matt, which you'll no doubt answer me tomorrow, if that's possible.
And if you'd like, we'll send him a card on behalf of the council.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Okay, then, those apologies accepted. Item 3, then, declarations. To record declarations of interest by any member of the council and officers in respect of the agenda items listed below. Members declaring the interest should identify the agenda item and type of interest being declared. Nope. And item 3B, to note dispensation given to any member of the council and officer in respect of the agenda items listed below.
No dispensations, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Item 4, then, to approve the minutes of the Planning and Environment Services Committee held on the 4th of Jan. You've all received a copy of them.
Mr. Chair, because we're viewing these minutes before they go to full council, because part of the meetings, rather than noting them today, it's a proposal and a second to approve them as a correct record. And there'll be
I'm moving from the chair. I'm moving from the chair. Councillor Tucker seconded. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you. All agreed? Yep. Item 5, then, to note the delegated responses given by Matt in consultation with myself as chair. You've all received copies of them, all in agreement.
If I could just comment, Mr. Chair, just so members are aware, they're on page 8 of 9 of the pack, and item E, the large application regarding land north of Minster Way.
Yeah.
Two or three councillors did respond to my email asking for any comments, and that's what's based formed the base of the comments. Thanks on this committee to Councillor Horsley for a lot of the comments there.
Thank you, Councillor Horsley. Thank you very much. Any more comments? No. Okay, then, item 6, planning applications and environment applications received. Before we start, I do note yet again these 3 items that have been received by the East Riding retrospectively. I know that East Riding is in a very difficult position, much as they would like to do more until the law changes. Then I'm sure we're still going to get retrospective planning applications via East Riding. Yes, Matt.
Yeah, as you brought that up now, it's something I was going to mention later when we start to see the first month's retrospective. In the past, when we've discussed retrospective issues, a lot of them have been around businesses. What I think is quite interesting to point out to the 3 retrospectives here are they're the sort of things that I suspect the people who have applied didn't realise they required planning permission. One is turning a garage into an office, an integral garage in their house into the office, and one of them is an office, a garden office, and the other is like a large shed. So I could see why those sort of things you might not be fully aware as residents that they have to go through planning. I think it's more a concern when it's the businesses who do know the planning process that are more problematic and are jumping the gun.
Yeah. Okay, Matt, thanks for those comments. So, item A then, 61 Westwood Road, erection of a two-storey and a single-storey extension to the side following demolition of a single-storey utility room. And the suggestion is by our officer, Matt, the Beverley Town Council agrees with the advice of the Conservation Officer and therefore does not have any objection and therefore does not support this application. Are we all in agreement with that? Yes. You've all looked at the application, obviously. So that's in support of the Conservation Officer that we do not support this application. Yeah, fine. Item B then, erection of detached storage unit to the rear. This is 223 Old Church Lane. And you know, Matt's already said it, despite being submitted retrospectively, Beverley Town Council has no objection to this application. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Item 3 then, installation of access to control, installation of access control to front door, and it's Quality Solicitors, Lockings, Wednesday Market. And again, the suggested response by Matt is that Beverley Town Council has no objection to this. In agreement? Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Item D, 42 Manor Close, erection of a single-storey extension to the side and rear to connect to existing garage. Beverley Town Council reconfirms that it has no objection to this application. Okay, is that agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sorry, help turn my volume on then. Yeah, we previously made a comment on that. There's been a slight alteration to it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Matt, for that. Item E then, 8 Aldgate Close, erection of a single-storey detached outbuilding to the side and use as an office. This is one that Matt's mentioned already. And we have no objection to this application. No. Okay. Jacqueline's 19 New Walkergate, item F, installation of replacement windows and door to the front. And again, we don't object to this on the condition that the Conservation Officer does not raise any objections. Okay. Yep. Item
Mr. Chair, I've checked these ones. The Conservation Officer now has made objection to that application. At the time of submitting the agenda, there wasn't an objection by the Conservation Officer, but there is now. So with that in mind, would you like me to rephrase it, saying that the council supports the Conservation Officer, which is the same as what was said, but it had to be stated that way because he hadn't made a comment yet.
Yeah. Okay then. Is that agreed?
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, thank you. Jacqueline's 47 Kelgate, external and internal alterations to allow conversion from offices to dwelling, and Matt's suggestion is that Beverley Town Council has no objection. Yeah.
Agreed.
14 St Giles Croft. This is in Beverley Westwood area conservation area, and it's to reduce one of the maple tree by 2 to 2.5 meters back to previous cuttings points, as the tree has grown too big with branches overhanging the neighbouring garage, blocks out light and may cause damage to neighbouring property in future. And obviously the suggestion is, as usual, that we have no objection to this, providing that the work takes place at a time of year the least likely to have negative impact on wildlife.
Having lived in the house next door for many years, I can confirm that this is a very large tree, which does cause difficulties, constant.
Right. Thank
So
you.
pruning back to where it has been pruned before.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we all in agreement with that?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. 33 Figham Springs, conversion of existing detached garage into additional living accommodation. And this is one which is retrospective. But we have no objection to this application. Okay.
Yes, agreed.
Item J then, Minard 3 Langham Close. Erection of a 2-storey extension to side, erection of 2-storey extension to rear, increase roof light height, installation of railings and electronic gate to front boundary, and the addition of rendering. And the suggested response is that Beverley Town Council has no objection to this application. The condition 2 new trees are planted for every 1 tree felled. If this is not possible on site, the applicant should liaise with East Riding Tree Officer to donate replacements to be planted elsewhere. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you. St Nicholas Community Centre. Construction of a new entrance door to west elevation. And anybody who's been to community centre on St Nicholas, the St Nicholas Community Centre, I think this will be made welcome to the building. I guess it's for disabled access and that, I'm sure. Okay, so we have no objection to that. 16 and 18 Woodlands, erection of a 1-storey extension with roof terraces to rear of number 16 and number 18, and construction of a replacement rear dormer, application of timber weatherboarding, and increase height to the rear boundary wall at number 16. And again, we express concern that the new dormer window will be out of keeping with the character of the neighbourhood. But if there are no objections from the conservation officer, it is willing to offer no further objections to this application. Have we got an update, Matt?
No, there's no update on that one. There's nothing being added. I was just aware that when we've had similar dormer windows in the past in that neighbourhood,
yes,
there's been quite a lot of activity around it, objections, but there's nothing more stated on the planning portal since I last looked at it.
Right. So how long have we got to respond to this, Matt?
This one, let me just check it. Wednesday the 19th.
So can I make a suggestion that we follow what Matt is saying? We give him, obviously he's got delegated authority, but we agree with what the suggestion of Matt is. But if Matt keeps an eye on what the conservation officer is saying, if he does object, we follow a similar line to what the conservation officers following. Is that agreed?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Or if we have several objections from neighbours.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll keep an eye. I've bookmarked that one. I'll keep an eye on it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is that all agreed? Yeah.
Agreed.
8 Norwood Beverley, erection of a 1-storey extension to rear. And again, we have no objection to this application. Is that agreed? Thank you.
Agreed.
That completes the planning applications. Item 7 then, Butcher Road Bench, to receive an update from Matt. regarding the damaged bench on Butcher Row. You'll all remember this was hit by a vehicle several months ago. Over to you, Matt.
Yeah, all the savable pieces. This committee agreed that the town council would fund the repair of it because it's not cheap to repair those benches. And the East Riding's budget is incredibly tight with it. It's been repaired now, and the company who's repaired it, the company that worked for the East Riding, so they know the specs they've got to work at. They've billed us for it, and it'll be relocated in the exact same place in the near future.
Thanks very much for that, Matt. Update, Matt. Item 8, then Kitchen Lane wall. Yeah, that's been it again. Can we have an update, Matt, please?
Yeah, so in case members aren't aware, before Christmas, we got a call saying, I think actually Councillor Willis, who was the first to raise it with us, that the wall, the old wall that runs down the side of Kitchen Lane, and is the entrance to the Kitchen Lane plots, had been damaged. So myself and Libby went down, and oh yes, it had been damaged. There was the rubble had been left, and nobody had contacted the town council about it, but Councillor Willis had been told by a resident that they thought it was a waste disposal wagon collecting bins managed by the East Riding. So I contacted the East Riding, and they said, thank you for informing them. They knew of the issue, but they didn't know who owned the wall. I did send them a photograph, which included our notice board saying Beverley Town Council, the gate opposite saying Beverley Town Council, call this number. So their insurers have now got in touch with us. So we've got to get 2 quotes, at least 2 quotes for the work for their insurer. However, we also know that we need to do work to the whole wall. There's natural wear and tear and damage with it. And for us, we need to get three quotes for work at that level of finance. So I've got 2 quotes. I'm about to this week sort out a 3rd quote for the repair to the initial damage, and also what it would cost to do the work on the whole wall. I've liaised with the conservation officer before Christmas, before this issue, because we're aware we need to do some work to maintain the wall, and it isn't listed. And it's just next to the conservation area. But because of the age, the conservation officer has given some advice as to the sort of materials to use or not to use. So I provided that information to the people we're tendering to. So I'm just waiting for the 3rd tender, and then I'll bring the tenders to full council, because it will be a considerable price, because it's not just basic bricky work. It's quite specialist work. So it will come above the £500 where it needs to go to committee. This committee has an authorised spend of £2,000, but one of the applications came in just slightly over that. So I'll be bringing them to committee when I've got the 3rd one. So just so you know, we're aware of it, and we'll get recompense from the East Riding for the initial work to the repair.
Thank you for that update, Matt. I'm sure we're all in agreement with that. Thanks very much also to Libby, and especially to Anne for pointing it out. Thank you very much.
No, it was somebody, one of the residents got in touch with me to tell me.
Great stuff, Anne. Thanking you. Right then, item 9 to consider.
Mr. Chair, I think Councillor Horsty was trying to talk.
We need to remember that this is a historic wall. And therefore special care needs to be taken in terms of any repairs.
And that's why Matt has in his specification has mentioned it, and also he's had a word with the conservation officer, David.
I suspect that this was originally part of the defensive wall of Beverley, because although they say Beverley didn't have walls, it did. It's just that they weren't very much more than garden walls.
I think it was, David, and in actual fact, there is further along the gate, the other side of the gate, the wall actually turns up, and I think it was a boundary wall as well, acted as a boundary wall for the ward boundary. And also,
there's a ditch, isn't there, just further along?
But one of the neighbours very close by has got in his wall, the boundary between St Mary's and Minster.
Yes, St.
the-
Mary's
the-
and
the
St.
plaque.
Martin's.
Yeah, St Martin's. That's it, David.
Mm.
Thank you. So yeah, it is a boundary wall. You're absolutely correct there, David. And so it does need looking after, and Matt's absolutely and Libby's bang on in getting it sorted. Thank you
Very
very
good.
much, the pair of you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have we
All
considered-
right then. So
Have we considered, Chair, possibly asking for this boundary wall marker, which presumably has been taken out at some stage, if the person with it would be willing to kindly return it so it could be put back into the wall?
I think it has already been put in, David.
Oh, right.
somewhere. Yes.
I think
yeah,
it's not in that stretch of the wall, is it? It's further on.
Yes. Yeah.
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 No, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought you meant it had gone to somebody else.
No,
No,
no. He lives very close by,
Okay.
yeah. on the same side as the gate.
Hmm.
Right, and item 9, to consider the exclusion of the public from the meeting on the grounds that confidential information in relation to business contracts and legal matters shall be disclosed. That's the Public Bodies Admission of Meetings Act 1960, and the motion is that the public be excluded from the meeting on the grounds that confidential information in relation to business contracts and legal matters shall be disclosed. Public Bodies Admissions of Meetings Act 1960. I so move.
Agreed.
Councillor Estelle proposes, Councillor
Seconded.
Tucker approves.
Yeah.
In that case, I will close the meeting to the